X, or used to be known as Twitter. Shalom, Yahweh Shem Yashai Barakatham, Yahweh Shem Alatham Bashem Yashai, to all the brothers and sisters. Right, the first salute was for the brothers, the second salute was for the sisters. Priest and Officer 1000 Zabaja, rocking out with you. This is another law class. Scally, what's going on with you? We're talking about Christ's Father, so that's what we're going to be talking about. Jesus does love me. Does he love you? Who are you, Landon? That would be the question. Jesus does love the Israelites. He only loves the Israelites, though. Landon, what do you think about that? Jesus only loves the Israelites. How does that make you feel? Right? If you're watching us on YouTube right now, I'm going to be dropping these sign-in links for you in a moment. Just bear with me a second. No. Jesus definitely does not like the people who are partying and having a parade all June. You know what I'm talking about. The Skittles people, Jesus don't love them. Jesus only loves Israelites. That we went through that the other day. Like, what was that? I think that was the last one we went through. We were talking about who salvation was for. Might have been Christ was God. I don't know. Let's see. Let me go through my notebook real quick. I'll tell you what the last. Yeah, that was the last one we went through, man. We just went through that. Who Christ died for. We found out Christ only died for Israel. If you're going to die for someone, that means that's someone you love. So Christ only loved Israel. Like, I'm not going to die for nobody that I don't love. It wouldn't make no sense. I will not be deleted or unalive for people that I do not love. All right, so I'm dropping these signing links on YouTube right now as we speak. Immaculate Conception. Where did it go? We had it earlier. We had Immaculate Conception out of Britannica. So if he doesn't love the LGBTQ, how come they still turn their lives to Jesus? You cannot be LGBTQ and turn your lives to Jesus, because according to the Bible, LGBTQ is a sin. You cannot say you sin and you're turning your life to Jesus. Now, if you were turning your life to Christ, you would have to stop sinning, because Christ never sinned. See how that works? Let me show you what I'm talking about. 1 second. Let me get Leviticus, I believe it's 20. Where is it? This is Leviticus 20 and 20. And if a man shall lie with his... Oh, no, wait. That's not the one I'm looking for. It's Leviticus 20 and 13. I got it. If a man also lie with mankind as he lies with a woman, both them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. So like TikTok, I'm just reading the Bible. Their blood shall be upon them. So that shows you Jesus Christ doesn't love the LGBTQ community. Now, I know the LGBTQ community has been forcing the churches to marry them, right? And because these churches churches aren't good for people. They go against the Bible, and they'll do it all for money, right? Not saying that, but you could overcome sin and give your life to Christ, and he would love you. You could, if you are an Israelite, you could definitely overcome sin and give your life to Christ. I did it. I overcame sin, right? And gave my life to Christ. But you cannot say you're going to give your life to Christ and continue to sin. Like, I'm going to paint the picture for you like this, right? Landon, if you were on death row and you were about to be executed or deleted, the province or state, I don't know if you live in Canada or America, right? But the province or the state is going to delete you for a crime that you committed. They said you're on death row, so you're about to be deleted. But then another man comes up and says, instead of him being deleted, I'll be deleted, and he could go on and live and don't commit that crime that he committed anymore. And that man takes your place on the execution, and you got to stay of execution. And then you turn around and go do the same crime that you were going to be unalive for. You were going to be deleted for this crime. You went and did the same crime. That's what the LGBT community is doing when they're saying they gave their life to Jesus. Right? They didn't give their life to Jesus. Right? So that answers that. But listen, I got a whole different topic for you tonight. We're going to be talking about Immaculate Conception. Now listen, the church fathers have led people astray for years, right? But I'm going to give you proof that Joseph is actually the father of Christ, right? So let's get into it. We got Immaculate Conception, Roman Catholicism. Immaculate Conception, Roman Catholic dogma, asserting that Mary, the mother of Jesus, was preserved free from the effects of sin of Adam. Ooh-wee. So they're saying that for Mary to have Jesus and for Jesus to be perfect, Mary had to be born perfect. And they let you know that's dogma. That's very important. They let you know that's dogma. Nowhere in the Bible are you going to find that Mary spoke to God. Now, she spoke to an angel, but she didn't speak to God. So Mary's not holy like the church will make it seem. Tony Calderon. Good night, you're Calderon. Listen, I'm from Toronto. We had a player named Calderon. He was trash. I'm not saying you're trash, Tony. I'm saying that Calderon, oh man. But you said, where's the Black Panther? You'd have to let me know what you're talking about. Who are you talking about? Yes, I agree, but I also believe that the Lord has everlasting love for everyone. The Lord doesn't have everlasting love for everyone. Tony, why are you so emotional? Y'all be very emotional on this app. But no, the Lord doesn't have love for everybody, right? You can see that in, I'm going to give you this one last precept, right? And then, I just had it too. And then I'm going to go into my topic of who Jesus' father is, right? So this is 2nd Ezra 6 and verse 54. After these Adam, also who made us Lord of all thy creatures. Right? So Adam was Lord over all the creatures. Of him come we all. We all come from Adam after that flood, right? Down to Noah, who came from Adam, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. Right? So there's a chosen people as well. That lets you know there isn't a chosen people. Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord. Right? So this has been said before. Because thou madest the world for our sakes. This is an Israelite speaking. What you're finding out is the Lord made the world for Israel's sake. Verse 55. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, right? As for the other people who also come of Adam, hold up. Thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle. Right? So the Lord is comparing these, and okay, you can't say that this is man's word if you believe in the Bible, because the whole Bible, all the words in the Bible come from the Lord. Right? As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said they are nothing, and be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel. Good night. So that's letting you know God don't love everybody. Y'all could kick that God love everybody somewhere else, right? Is you got to think about it. I'll save it. But let's get into our topic, right? So again, tonight we're talking about the birth of Jesus Christ and who his father is. Now, I know most men who are listening to this, they can understand that if they had a woman and she came home and said, I am pregnant, and the Lord did it, you would kick that woman out. You would not want anything to do with that woman at all. Right? So let's get into it. Where were we? We're in the Immaculate Conception, Catholic dogma asserting that Mary, the mother of Jesus, was preserved free from the effects of sin of Adam, usually referred to as the original sin, from the first instant of her conception. Right? So they're trying to make it look like she was someone holy. And this is all Catholic Christianity. Although various texts in both Old and New Testament have cited in defense of the doctrine, it seems to have arisen from a general acceptance in the early church of Mary's holiness. So this comes from the Catholic Church. This is not what Israelites believe. This is not in the Bible. This is not of Israelite culture. Especially after Mary had solemnly declared to be the mother. Hold up. The mother. Oh, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this. Right? And shout out to my captain, 13,000 Tazariak, because he gave us this breakdown, and this is an excellent breakdown. This is a full detailed breakdown. Hold up, I gotta do one more thing. Gotta do one more thing. Bear with me one more time. I just gotta share this link real quick. Share here. Share it. Okay, we can share it there for now. Bear with me. I'm gonna keep going. Bear with me one moment. All right. So what are we sharing? We're sharing this on the StreamYard, so on YouTube. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, we're sharing on YouTube, I.S.U.P.K Toronto. About to jump back to my monitoring of TikTok. No, I don't want to get smited. I'm going to chill on the God topics. You could just leave Vortex. You're probably doing a snowball as we speak, or getting high. Well, this is definitely a headpiece. I don't know if they're 9s and 45s. I prefer a 45 over a 9. I'll just tell you that. But listen, Christ told a sword. Nah, I'm messing with you. But listen, Christ did tell brothers and brothers to sell their garments and get a sword, right? So there's nothing wrong with protecting yourself. It's wrong if you go out and just unalive people, but if you're trying to protect yourself, you are able to bear firearms or bear arms in a country that legally allows you to bear arms. Go do it. Nothing's wrong. Listen, this ain't the Christian church. We ain't telling you can't protect yourself. I'll tell you that much. Someone coming here into my space or where I have my family, I'm using whatever I can to protect my family, right? I don't know what you would do, but that's what I would do. I was just raised a little different, I guess you could say. All right, so I'm going to get back to what I was reading. Although various texts in both Old and New Testament have been cited in defense of doctrine, it seems to have risked holiness, especially after Mary had been solemnly declared to be the mother of God. Now, again, Christ is not God, but that's what Christianity and Catholic Church believe. At the Council of Ephesus in 431, most theologians doubted God could. Where are we at? Bear with me. Yeah, this website is kind of being annoying. All right, so we're just going to keep reading. Okay. So we're going to keep going. Bear with me. Yeah, this website is annoying. It's just jumping all over the place. Hey, Lee, don't do that. Thank you. Salaki, YouTube, I'll bear with me one moment. I'm just trying to get my computer to unfreeze. That married to evil inherit until that this is something that people didn't even believe. The Israelites didn't believe this at all. When considerable debate was centered on the English celebration of Mary's conception, right? So now, what that's saying is they had a debate about this, Mary being holy for her conception, right? So now I'm just going to go through the dates. So they believe that Mary had to make Mary sinless so she could so sin couldn't reach Christ, right? And they're debating this around her conception, what they believe is her conception, which would be December 8th. They believe she was conceived September 8th, and then they believe she was conceived December 8th and born September 8th. Right? So let's go. Let's keep reading. The discussion was clouded by medieval views of biological aspects of conception and by a concern that the belief in the universal redemption effects by Jesus should not be threatened. Right? So we're going to drop that. Let's see if there's anything in this. Okay, so we'll read this one. A gradual acceptance of the Franciscans' view over the several centuries was reflected in the teaching of various popes. Jump down. It was not, however, until December 8th, 1854, that Pius IX urged the majority of Catholic bishops throughout the world solemnly declared in the bull and festival dies that the doctrine was revealed by God and hence was to be firmly believed as such by all Catholics. Right? So again, this is not something that they taught. Right? So I'll explain it to you. During the 18th century, they started to wrestle with the idea that Mary was holy and she had to be holy to birth Christ. And the Catholics and the Franciscans wanted everyone to believe this. And they had a feast. The Feast of the Immaculate Conception is celebrated. The Feast of the Immaculate Conception is celebrated on December 8th and is usually a holy day of obligation. And again, December 8th is the day they believe that Mary was conceived. Right? So I'm going to go check out some of these comments. Hold up. Let's see what some of these comments are saying. No, I don't want to blah, blah, blah. Does that... Okay. Nines on it. It's kind of fire. Hey, thank you. Listen, I like it. This headband is straight fire. Shout out to Shapat Ayat out of DC. 12 G's with dragon breath. You're foaming. This man said the 12 gauge with dragon's breath. Are you a Hebrew Israelite? Yes. My language is Hebrew. My nationality is Israel. Cooks the whole house. Good night. You talking about that dragon's breath? I only seen that dragon's breath ever in Call of Duty. It originated from the Jewish Kabbalah. What originated? Let's see. Do you know where the Star of David came from? Do you know that it has nothing? I've already broken this down. I did a whole live on this, a whole class. The Star of David is what you guys call a star is not a star. A star is a ball of gas. Y'all failed science. If you failed science, just say it. Just if you were horrible in school and you didn't listen and you didn't pay attention, just say it. You failed in science. A star is a ball of gas, or in modern terms, a star could be a famous person, like an A-list celebrity, right? You have basketball players who play basketball in the NBA, but they're not considered stars, right? Again, if what you're looking at, the star, what you guys call the Star of David, or this right here, the top point right here of this triangle going up, that is the Da in Hebrew. They call it the Star of David because this is Dawada in Hebrew. It's David's signature. It's a signet. A perfect example. You see this ring? It has a shield. This ring has a shield on it, and you can see it. In days of old, a king would take his ring and mark it on some wax, like a stamp. And that's what this was used for. You can see the shield of David all throughout the Bible. It originated, so you were wrong on that one. Compassion, you wouldn't know what's mocking God. Hey, Shalom Prison Department. Someone said, is this kind of a religion similar to Judaism? This is not Judaism. This is not a religion. I'm just breaking down the culture of the Israelites. Listen, with a name like Skinny, you are definitely of your father, the devil, Salakia. I'm not even going to say the rest of your name, right? But now, I'm going to go to the Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary right here. So I got a Zondervan's. Everyone should have one of these, right? Everyone should have one of these. And you could just find what you're looking for definitions in here. So where are we? Where are we? We're going to go to the Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary. We're going to go to page 882, right? And we're going to break down virgin. Right, so we're going to go to page 82 and break down virgin. So the former term is rendered virgin, and the standard lexicon and the translation does seem appropriate in many or even most passages. Moreover, the abstract cognate Bethulium which would be H1436. A plural form appears to indicate virginity, right? So that word is bathwala, right? It's H1436A, right? So we're going to keep reading. This word, one second, in Deuteronomy 22:14, it means evidence of virginity. But see on Ezekiel 23:3 and 8 below, there are, however, several considerations that be kept in mind, right? So times when virgin has nothing, someone who hasn't had sex. And then there's times when virgin has to do with a woman of young age, which is what we're going to find right here, right? So we have, from the root meaning to separate, is the technical term for a virgin, a young, unmarried woman. It also figuratively to personify a city or state, right? The second definition is alma, use of a young woman of marriageable age, whether married or not. So that's letting you know you could be a virgin if you for a young woman, because it has nothing to do with sex. Unless the context is saying it has to do with sex, it usually has nothing to do with sex and is for age. All right, let's see if we got any more comments in here. Right, so usually it has to do with age. Let's keep going. The only the context can give it the force, virgin, salakia. Parthenos, used in the LXX chiefly as rendering of Bethula or Bathwala of Alma in Genesis 24:43 and Isaiah 7:14. In the New Testament, it is usually the word for virgin, Matthew 1:23. But in Revelations 14:4, it is used of men with the emphasis on the idea of chastity. So that's letting you know, unless it says the context of the word virgin is sex, it's not. And we're going to go through that and show you that in the Bible, right? So first, I'm going to show you Esther 2:19. Let me get it. Where's that? Esther. Bear with me. So Esther 2:19, right? And when the virgins were gathered together for the second time, then Mordecai sat in the king's gate. So this is talking about young women. This is not talking about sex right here. This is talking about young women. When the virgins were gathered together the second time, right? So let's go back. Alma, use of a young woman of marriageable age, whether married or not. Bathwala, from a root meaning to separate, is the technical term for virgin, a young unmarried woman, right? So why am I saying all this? Because they say Mary was a virgin when she conceived Christ. And we found out that a virgin used of a young woman of marriageable age, whether married or not. According to the Bible, sex is marriage. So when you have sex, you are married. So you can have sex and still be a virgin because it's of young age. So young woman is definitely it's the more appropriate way of when they're using it. Let's go to Genesis. I'm gonna put a pin in that real quick. I'm gonna put a pin in that. Let's go to Genesis. What do we want? Genesis 24 and 16 to show you more uses of the word virgin. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, right? So this is a young woman who's beautiful, a virgin, right? So you got to pay attention to this. It's saying it's a damsel. It's saying it's a she's very fair to look upon, meaning she's pretty, and she's a virgin, right? So that's one. This damsel is a virgin. It says that right here. We're in Genesis 24 and 16. Neither had any man known her. So that's letting you know another thing. She didn't have sex. So now, why would they say it two different ways if it means the same thing? Is it just stressing that she's a virgin? Or is it saying, and the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin. So it's saying she's young. Neither had any man known her. It's letting you know she didn't have sex with anybody. Right? She didn't have sex with anybody. Slovakia. Let me just put this there. Oh, you know what I'm missing? I'm missing this. There we go. Right? So she didn't have sex with anybody. No one known her. So the virgin is a young woman, known her as sex. Virgin has nothing to do with sex, right? I'll give you an example. A woman 40 plus who's never had sex, like she 55, she's never had sex, she's not a virgin. Because she's on the other side of youth. Her youth is declining. Virgin is synonymous with youth. And we've read that, right? Used of a young woman of marriageable age. We've read that. That's there. That's letting you know your pastor doesn't know what he's talking about. Listen, they've told us that a woman had a child without laying with a man. Good night. And which man would actually believe that? Yeah, think about it. Anytime there's no DNA test, you're telling me a man is going to believe that his woman got pregnant of the Lord, and he's just supposed to be like, okay, and rock out with it. No man in their right mind is going to believe that at all. Hey, Brock. And again, if you want to join in, you could definitely join in, Brock. If anybody has any questions, if you're watching and you have any questions, you could definitely type your questions in on these chats, in these prospective chats, and we'll see them. If you're on TikTok, I won't be able to see your questions unless you jump on the YouTube, right? Jump on the YouTube or the Facebook, or you could join us on the TikTok or Slovakia. If you're on X or Twitter, that's what I meant to say. If you're on X or Twitter, I'm not going to see your questions, right, or your comments, right? But listen, if you got a comment on TikTok or anything, just type it in. I'm going to read it out. Alma. Oh, Slovakia, 1 second. All right, so this is what's interesting about the virgin, about the Zondervans, right? The Zondervans, the people who believe that it's not necessarily did they believe in the virgin birth or not, but what they're doing is they're just giving you the accurate breakdown, right? They're letting you know virgin doesn't always mean, unless the context says so, it has nothing to do with sex, right? And that doesn't mean they didn't believe this or not. So we're going to read some more. All right, we're definitely going to read some more. Bear with me a second. Let's see, what do we have here? Okay, so the second term, Alma, is clearly the feminine form of H6624, young man. The factor affects the understanding of Alma in the most controversial passage, Isaiah 7:14, which traditionally has been translated, "Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son." The NRSV and other modern versions, however, use young man or young woman. In this phrase, some have argued that if Isaiah had intended the meaning virgin, he would have used Bethula instead. But clearly, this argument does not work. As for noted above, Bethula too often has general meanings without reference to sexual experience. So it's letting you know that that word virgin, unless it says it's sexual experience, it has nothing to do with it. Right? It's rare that it does. On the other hand, it's a fair argument to say that if Isaiah had wanted to stress the woman's virginity, he had other means of doing so. A woman who has not known a man, as in Numbers 31:35. It may be that Alma, be like Bethula, refers normally to a young woman of sexual maturity who is unmarried and therefore assumed to be a virgin, right? So let's go into, we're going to read some of this over here, right? So again, they're not saying that. What they're doing is they're painting the picture that the word virgin doesn't necessarily mean a woman who hasn't had sex with someone. You can see that all throughout the scriptures, right? And that's what we're going to be breaking down. That's what we're going to be going into as we continue. So let's keep reading. Yet a few scriptural miracles have been more impunged and controverted. Thus, Walter Horton declares that a very solid contingent of leading Protestant thinkers now accept the orthodox doctrine of the incarnation while admitting their perplexity over the evidence of the virgin birth, right? So they're saying we're just going to believe this. We're just going to believe it. But that doesn't mean it's true. They're saying we're going to teach this even though we lack the evidence. And that's what's been happening. They've been teaching this virgin birth with no evidence for a very long time. Where are we? Christian theology, the ecumenical approach. Fari asserts that it is piosis adulation and should honestly be accepted as creative myth. Right? So they're saying the virgin birth is creative myth. Them telling you that Mary got pregnant on her own without Joseph is creative myth. Them saying God got Mary pregnant without Joseph is a myth. And listen, this is something that's easy to believe, especially in the time and day that we're in, because fathers aren't in the house. So it's easy to believe that some women didn't need a father, right? There's a sister, Ebony K. She'll tell you she didn't need a man, but she went to get a man's seed to impregnate herself. What's up, Toma? I appreciate you. Right? So we're just breaking down that, we're breaking down the lies of Christianity. Christianity tells you a lot of lies. Christianity is horrible. Listen, especially in the Western Hemisphere, Christianity has unalived so many of our brothers and sisters. It came out a few years ago that they were digging around the Catholic churches in Canada, right, in Wet'suwet'en, and they found the unalived bodies of native children. And that's Christianity. Christianity destroys. So we're here to destroy it. That's what we're doing. Where are we? The reasons for this attitude, and apparently threefold. The first, the virgin birth. So they're going to give you three reasons why they have this attitude, right? Let's go through them. Where are we? The first, the virgin birth is factually suspect. So they're saying like the virgin birth is suspect. They don't even understand it. That means there's holes in that theory, in that myth. Where's the second? A theology of one second, but Orr and Machen, and more recently Barth, rebut the critical case effectively. Second, the doctrine is polemically hazardous. Right, so let's find out what that word is. That's a new word. Hold up. Where was it? In a way that strongly attacks or defends a particular opinions, person's ideas, or set of beliefs, speaks engagingly but never politically. Okay. Where are we? They're saying this. The second reason it's a hazardous. It's an attack. So they're saying it in a way that strongly attacks or defends. So it's hazardous in that way. Horton in particular highlights the propensity of Roman Catholic dogmaticians to build a vast structure of Mariology, right? So they were building a myth around Mary. They were building doctrine around Mary, and invented an inverted pyramid resting upon the apex of the virgin birth. So what they're saying is the virgin birth is an upside down pyramid, where the highest point of the pyramid is the foundation, right? And they're basically saying this upside down pyramid, if you attack virgin birth or immaculate conception, the pyramid falls. And that's basically what they're saying. That pyramid of virgin birth is easy to destroy. It's easy to attack. And you're finding out that it's just Roman Catholic mythology. All right. Now, one thing that's interesting about this whole situation, right? The Roman Catholics, they had many gods, many Greek and Roman gods. And some of those gods, in some of these stories that these Roman gods and the Greek gods and the Egyptian gods, you'll find Immaculate Conception. Where you won't find Immaculate Conception is in the story of Christ, right? In the Bible, there's no Immaculate Conception. A man has sex with a woman and you have a baby, right? These other nations or the Roman Catholics, they believed in a woman can get pregnant on her own. Now, listen, you take that for what you want, right? But a man 2,000 years ago, his wife is telling him she's coming in pregnant and he didn't do it. And he said, you know what? It's okay because Christ was born this way. That is crazy, right? That's why there's DNA tests now. We can find out who that baby's father is, right? And so really what you're finding out is women have been slurries or scandalous for a very long time. Even in the Bible, they were scandalous. Where is it? But surely there is no need of throwing out the baby of the revelational truth with the bathwater of extravagant superstition. So they're saying virgin birth is extravagant superstition. Third, the doctrine of theological pernicious, Freud especially is afraid that the virgin birth implies a subtle Semitism. If the virgin birth in any way endows Jesus with predetermined sinlessness, or even more, with some initial presence of God, which sets him off essentially from normal human beings, then the Son of God never took on our human nature. Never took on our human nature. Well, let's find out what nature Christ took on, right? Because there was a nature that Christ took on. I don't need that for now. Let's get to some of these comments. If Andy 84, Jesus is not God. If you stay a while to listen, right, at the end of this, you're going to find out Jesus was born the same way you were born, and he's not God. But if not, it's all good. 7-7, you're on mute. I don't know. I don't read French, so I don't know what you're saying. So if you're speaking French in here, I'm just gonna mute you. All right, so human nature. Listen, this is not what I.S.U.P.K did not write this book. Commanding General YAHANNA did not write this book. I'm reading out of the Zondervan's Pictorial Bible Dictionary, which is this right here, right? And I'm just giving you the definitions and the breakdowns, and we're gonna go and keep reading, right? So human nature, we didn't write this. Whose nature did Christ take on? Did he take on the nature of God? Did he take on the nature of angels, or the nature of his kinfolks, his brothers and sisters, right? The nature of Christ, we got to go to Hebrews 2:16. So let's do that. We're going to go to Hebrews 2:16. Down more. Bear with me one moment. We're going through this. Is that your doc? No, not your shirt. Good night. Harry, do you kiss your dog in the mouth? Harry, you look like you kiss your dog in the mouth. And you also look like you put raisins in your potato salad. Is that what's up? So what were we looking for? We were looking for Hebrews 2:16, right? So this is Hebrews 2:16. We're going to find out what nature did Christ take on, right? Because we are reading in the Zondervan Pictorial Bible Dictionary, and the Son of God never took on our human nature if he is from God, right? If God made Mary pregnant, he didn't take on the human nature. So 2:16 reads, "For verily he took not on him the nature of angels, but he took on him the seed of Abraham." So there's only one way that Christ could have taken on the seed of Abraham. That's if he comes from a man's seed. Good night. That LGBTQ community. Harry, I didn't know you were part of the LGBTQ community. Are you a T? Oh, I blocked you anyways, but good night. Harry came in talking some LGBTQ stuff. That was bad. Where are we? So again, Christ didn't take on the nature of God or the angels, right? He took on the nature of his brothers and sisters. And that destroys the virgin birth. That also destroys the Christ is God. That also destroys the Trinity, right? All of that is being destroyed. Let's read to, where are we? 16. Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren. How were Christ's brethren made? If we are Christ's brethren, how were we made? Because it's telling us Christ wanted to be made like that. That he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things pertaining to God, to make reconciliation for the sins of the people. Right? So Christ was made like us, so he could show us not to sin. So he could take away the sins that we are doing at the moment. Meaning, we are going to get forgiveness for the sins we are doing through Christ. Right? That doesn't mean Christ took away the sins and you could go sin right now. You should not be sinning right now. Right? You should be in the I.S.U.P.K classes learning about the things the pastors won't tell you. Listen, you can't learn from Harry Salakia. You can't learn from Harry. Yo, man, this person almost got me. I had to look at the name twice. I was not gonna say that. That's good night. LGBTQ members. The LGBTQ community is horrible. Right? I seen a video of them. Like, listen, some I don't know if this is a brother. I'm assuming it's a brother. Some brother with demons. He must have went to the pride parade to go preach, and them demons jumped on him. And it reminded me of the verse where the brothers were trying to cast out the demons, and the demons said, Christ I know, Paul I know, but you we do not know, and they jumped on him. That's what that reminded me of. All right. So again, this destroys the Trinity. Right? Now, Christ definitely came in the volume of the book, and that's what we're going to go through. We're definitely going to go through these scriptures that talk about Christ in the volume of the book. Right. Okay, what does I.S.U.P.K mean? I.S.U.P.K means the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. So the knowledge that we have is universal, it's practical. It's going to get you through your everyday life. So I hope that answered your question, Sam. I didn't see that. Listen, if you guys are watching and if you guys ask a question or I'm taking long, sometimes I might not be looking at the chat, all right? And I'm taking long, just put your question in again. Don't feel like you could type whatever you want in the comments. It's just if you get too disrespectful, I'm gonna block you respectfully, right? And I'm gonna do it disrespectfully too. But that's what I.S.U.P.K means. If you are a part of the 144, where is the Lamb? What do you mean by that? Hey, can you elaborate, Dyer Judah? Elaborate what you mean by that. Right? Because I never said I'm part of the 144, but I believe the 144 represents the Lord's army, the Lord's the people who are going to be in charge. So I put 144 on the shirt. Now, what are you talking about if I am a part of the 144? Where's the Lamb? Explain that, if you could. Right? So let's get to 2 Samuel. We're going to find 2 Samuel. I'm going to find 2 Samuel. What's time saying? We definitely got some time. I'm going to start to pick up a little more and go through this a little more, a little faster. Y'all should definitely be taking notes. Judges, Samuel. Second Samuel 7. Oh, we're still in 1 Samuel. Bear with me. 2 Samuel 7 or 7 and 12. Right. So we got 2 Samuel 7 and 12. See if there's any more comments. No. We're going to continue reading. All right. This is 2 Samuel 7 and 12. And when thy days be fulfilled, and thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. Right? So this is God talking to David. And he's telling him he's going to set up a lineage after David that is going to be in rulership. And it's going to come from David, from his bowels, from the seed. It's talking about Solomon. And we know, reading the scriptures, that Solomon failed. Solomon failed. He didn't do what he was supposed to do. And everyone else after Solomon failed until Christ. Until Christ got there, everyone failed. And then Christ completed what we're reading now. Right? So Christ is the punctuation. He completed what Solomon failed at. Christ got it. So let's keep reading. Hold up, let me fix this TikTok. All right, TikTok, we're back. We're back, TikTok, let's go. So what were we reading? 13. So I'm going to read it one more time. 12. And when thy days be fulfilled, this is Christ, David talking to the Lord, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, meaning when you die, your spirit doesn't go to spooky heaven, right? It doesn't go to what they told the slaves heaven was, right? The pearly gates and the slave masters up there and the people who just called on Jesus before they died are there. What happens is when you are unalived, your spirit goes back to the Father. He puts you to sleep with your family, right? Meaning where your fathers are sleeping, he puts them to sleep until time of the resurrection where they come back into the earth, right? That's what happens. You die, you go to the Lord, get judged, come back to the earth and serve out that judgment. This is why you might see a child born with a heart murmur, right? And that is explaining why I'm going to say it like this. You serve out your sentence or go through the hell on earth because of the sins you've done in your past life. I hope that explained it for you. Verse 13. Let's keep reading. And I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of thy bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build an house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. Right? And that's what Christ is going to be sitting on. The throne of David, right? That's going to be established forever. Verse 14. I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he commit, all right, so that lets you know right there, right? It says he will be his father. Let's read it again. I will be his father, and he shall be my son, right? And this is talking spiritually. Because if it's coming out of David's bowels, that means A man is bringing this child that's going to grow up into a man to sit on the throne into this earth. But spiritually, the Father is his Father, meaning God is our Father, right? God told Israel, "You are my firstborn son." But Israel came after several other nations. So let's keep going. If he commit iniquity, then I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. Right? So Solomon committed that iniquity, but he didn't go through it. Christ went through it because Christ was Solomon. Christ is one of the times Christ came back to earth, and the regeneration is Solomon. Right? And when you read Matthew 1, I believe it's verse 1, it breaks it down who Christ comes from. Right? And all the times Christ came to the earth. So let's keep reading. Right? And everyone can say that Solomon didn't get the rod of men. He didn't get the chastised like that. Right? Let's go to Isaiah 7 and 14. Bear with me, I'm going to get you Isaiah, it's right after Proverbs, Isaiah 7 and 14. Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Now, this was the prophecy. This is the prophecy that the priest knew. This is the prophecy that was given to Isaiah, right? And this matches up with the prophecy of Christ, right? And this same prophecy is said to Mary, right? This same prophecy is said to the people. It's said in the New Testament, right? And if you apply it to what you read right now, it has to apply for Mary. So if you're applying that it's talking about a virgin birth for Mary, it has to apply for Isaiah and his son, right? So let's read. Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son. Right? So a virgin, again, is a young woman of marriageable age, whether she's married or not. Shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. Right? And this is talking about Isaiah's son. Now, when you go into the 8th chapter, you see the initial fulfillment of this prophecy, and that is a man sleeping with a woman and having a child, right? So now let's go to Matthew 1 and 22. I'm going to put a fork in that because I'm going to be coming back here soon. So again, like I know y'all, if y'all think that Christ was born of God, right? If y'all think Christ is God or he was born of a virgin, meaning Mary didn't have sex to make Christ, y'all can just put it in the chat and y'all can start putting the scriptures that you believe is referring to what you believe or what you wanted, what you were taught, right? Good night. We're definitely going to do a part 2 on this. I had technical difficulties today, so we're definitely going to have to do a part 2 on this. But we're going to get through some of this. We're going to get through a good portion of it, right? So where are we? We're in Matthew 1 and 22. Matthew 1 and 22. Now, all this was done. It might be fulfilled. It might be, Salakia. Now, all this was done, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken of the Lord by the prophets, saying, right? So this was saying, this was spoken before. This was spoken to another couple before. Behold, a virgin shall be with child, and shall bring forth a son, and they shall call his name Emmanuel, which, being interpreted, is God with us, right? So that's being interpreted, God is with us. Mary is told this, right? Joseph is told this. So was Isaiah and his wife, right? Isaiah was told this. And the same thing that happened to Isaiah happened to Mary. They had a son. Mary had a son. Joseph had a son. Isaiah had a son, right? And both those sons were born the same way. Just keep reading. Right. Now, this is not writing to say that Mary didn't need Joseph to have a son. This is letting you know Mary needed Joseph to have this son. She needed to lay with Joseph so she could have this son. And that's what this is telling you right now. Right? Now, this is what we read in Matthew 1 and 22 to 23 is parallel to what we read in Isaiah 7 and 14. Therefore, the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Behold, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and shall call his name Emmanuel. This was talking about Isaiah, what we just read, and the one in Matthew is talking about Joseph and Mary. Well, Isaiah had to put his son in his rib. And that is exactly how Christ got into Mary, not the Lord committing adultery. Good man. And I don't even think Christians understand that that's what they're saying when they say Christ was born of God and not Joseph. All right, so let's keep going. We're going to keep going. Let's jump to Luke. Let me find it. Let's find Luke 1 and 26. Luke 1 and 26 says, is this it? Luke 1, 26. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God to the city of Galilee, named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph, of the house of David, right? So you can see that it says Joseph, the house of David. Listen, easy, I would rather be me than you. I would just rather be me than you, easy. That's it. That's it. Your life is definitely, if you're in this live here trolling, your life is horrible. Your life is horrible and you have nothing going on for you. But again, I would rather be Officer Zabaja than Easy Does It. And that should let you know. Easy Does It has nothing to offer the people. Right. So where are we? Where are we? Luke 1 and 26. Luke 1 and 26. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto a city of Galilee named Nazareth, to a virgin espoused to a man who was Joseph of the house of David, and the virgin's name was Mary. So Joseph is from the house of David, right? Now, one would ask, why are the angels intervening? But that's not anything different than what we've seen previously in the Bible, right? We've seen it happen for Isaiah. We're going to see it happen for Zechariah. We're going to see it happen for many others. And now we're just going to go through these cases of it happening for many others, right? So let's go back to Luke. We're in the first chapter. We're going to start at the 5th verse, right? So Luke, the first chapter, the 5th verse. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zacharias, of the course of Abia, and his wife was the daughter of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. So Elizabeth is Mary's cousin, right? And she's married to a priest named Zacharias. And they were both righteous before God, walking in all the commandments and the ordinance of the Lord blameless. And that's letting you know, you Christians who say you cannot be blameless, Zacharias in the New Testament was blameless. So what's that say about you? Let's read verse 7. And they had no child because Elizabeth was barren, and they both were all stricken in age, meaning they were old. Elizabeth didn't have any children. They lived in their old age with no children, right? Where are we? Let's read verse 11. This is Luke 1, verse 11. And there appeared unto him an angel of the Lord, standing on the right side of the altar of incense. And when Zacharias saw him, he was troubled and fell upon him. Right? So again, you see an angel, you're going to be scared. This happened to Abraham, Mary. Like everybody who saw these angels, they were always scared and they bowed down. The angels were revering. Where are we? Let's jump to 15. For he shall be great in the sight. I'll start at 14. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. Oh, 1 second. Let me jump up. I'll go to 13. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayer is heard, and thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. Right? What was his prayer? His prayer was to have a son. His prayer was to have a son. And Melise, you are not a general. You are just a nut on TikTok, typing in the comments. Right? So, let's keep going. Where were we? We're at 13. But the angel said unto him, Fear not, Zacharias, for thy prayers is heard. Zacharias was praying for a son, right? And thy wife Elizabeth shall bear thee a son, and thou shalt call his name John. 14. And thou shalt have joy and gladness, and many shall rejoice at his birth. Because they're going to have joy and gladness because they wanted to have a child for a very long time. Didn't have one, their old age. And now they're going to have one, and everyone's going to be happy, and they're going to rejoice at this fact, right? Like you got many of these celebrities who are old now saying, especially these celebrity women, and it always turns out to be these sisters, because these sisters fall for the dogma of Caucasian supremacy, where you don't need your man. And clearly, you need your man. Mary needed Joseph. We're going to prove that. For he shall be great in the sight of the Lord, and shall drink neither wine nor strong drink. And let's jump down to 18. Or 1 second. Or we'll read 16. And many of the children of Israel shall he turn to the Lord for the Lord their God. And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias. Right, so John is Elijah, and turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Right? Hold up. Verse 18. And Zacharias said unto the angel, whereby shall I know this? For I am an old man and my wife well stricken in age. Right? So he asking questions. Like, how is this going to happen? I'm an old man. Sarah did the same thing. Right? Mary down there did the same thing. And the angel answering said unto him, I'm Gabriel, that stand in the presence of God, and am sent to speak unto thee, and to show thee these glad tidings. Right? So Gabriel's checking him here and telling him, like, yo, pipe down. Verse 20. And behold, thou shalt be dumb and not able to speak until the day that these things shall be performed, because thou believest not my words, which shall be fulfilled in their seasons. Right? So he's letting them know, like, listen, you're going to be mute. You're going to be not able to talk until these things are performed. Right? Let's jump down to 26. And in the 6th month, the angel Gabriel was sent from God unto the city of Galilee named Nazareth. So right now we're jumping right back to where the angel comes and visits Mary. He just visited Zacharias and his rib. Now he's visiting Mary. To a virgin espoused to a man whose name was Joseph of the house of David. So again, Joseph's from the house of David. You're not going to see where it says Mary is from the house of David. And the virgin's name was Mary. 28. And the angel came in unto her and said, Hail thou that art highly favored, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou young among women. Right? And he saluted her. Just like how we salute our sisters, where we say, Yahweh Shema Alatham Basham Yahashai, which is Lord watch over you, in the name of Jesus. Right? So, where are we? Let's read 27. Oh no, we read that. So we're going to read 29. And when she saw him, she was troubled at his saying, and cast in her mind what manner of salvation this should be. Right. Let's read 28. So she is having trouble understanding what was happening. Let's read 28. And the angel came in unto her. Oh no, we read that. 29. Let's read 30. And the angel said unto her, Fear not, Mary, for thou hast found favor with God. So he's reassuring the sister. 31. Behold, thou shalt conceive in thy womb and bring forth a son, and shall call his name Jesus, or Yahushua. He shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest, and the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David. I need y'all Christians to explain to me how Christ would sit on the throne of his father David if he didn't come from the house of Joseph, who's from David, right? Have you noticed anything yet? You haven't seen anyone say that Mary is from the house of David. You haven't seen it. It hasn't been said at all. So if it hasn't been said, you can't even say it, right? You can speculate that Mary is a Levite because her cousins Elizabeth and Zachariah are Levites, but that's speculation, right? But you're not going to see it say Mary from Judah. You're not going to see it say Mary from the house of David. Right? Now, it was important when they said in 32, let's go back to 32, he shall be great and shall be called the Son of the Highest. So he's called the Son of the Highest. Right? That's a title. And the Lord God shall give unto him the throne of his father David. That's important because that's letting you know what lineage he comes from. right? It's letting you know exactly what lineage he comes from. He comes from David's lineage. You can't come from David's lineage without having the seed, right? You got to come from David's bowels to be part of David's lineage. Right? So, where are we? 34, or we read 33. And he shall reign over the house of Jacob forever. And this is the same thing we read in the prophecy earlier. And of his kingdom there shall be no end. Then said Mary unto the angel, how shall this be, seeing I know not a man? Right? So she's saying, how is this going to be? I haven't slept with a man yet. Right? She's asking. Just like Zechariah asked. Let's go back to Luke 1:18. Just like Zechariah asked. And Zechariah said unto the angel, where be shall I know this? For I am an old man, and my wife well stricken in years. Mary said the same thing. Right? Now listen to the angel answered Mary. You know what? Before we do that, I'm going to put a pin in this verse. We're going to jump back to that. Let's show you in Genesis 18. Genesis 18. Show you in Genesis 18 the same thing. Genesis 18:10. And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life. And lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And this is the angel talking to Abraham. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Verse 11. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of woman. Right? So meaning Sarah wasn't on her cycle no more. Like, she's old. She went through the menopause. She went through that time where her body's reverting from her youth, and it's extremely hard for her to have children, to a point where she's not producing those eggs anymore, where she's not having a flow. She's not having a flower anymore. Right? Where were we? 12. Verse 12. This is Genesis 18 and verse 12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? Sarah knew how to make a child. For y'all who believe a woman can turn around and tell you she's pregnant and is of God, y'all should go get DNA tests for your children right now. Sarah knew how to make a child. And she said it, pleasure. Right? That's the pleasure that comes with sleep. Salakia. After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure? My Lord being old also. And she's saying, listen, how am I going to have pleasure and my Lord being old also? Am I going to have sex, my Lord being old also, so we can have this child? Right? Let's read 13. And the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a surety bear a child which I'm old? Right? So she laughed. She didn't realize what was going on. Is anything too hard for the Lord? This is the angel telling Abraham, listen, nothing's hard for the Lord. The Lord can open up Sarah's womb if he wants to. At the time appointed will I return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laughed not, for she was afraid, and said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. And he said, Nay, but thou didst laugh. Like, you can't lie to an angel. Good night. I would not. And this is, listen, if you're Black, Hispanic, and Native American, just don't lie. You might be talking to another Black man outside, not realizing that's an angel, and you're just lying. No sound? Thank you. I did not realize that. All right, testing. This mic should be alive. I got to charge my mics. So what I did was I went and got these mics, right? These mics help for quality of sound when it comes to TikTok. So this one just died. But now I got this one. You see a green light, lit, good to go. So I'm going to go back to maybe 2 or 3 verses so y'all can hear. So I'm going to start at 10 again so y'all can catch up. Where was I? 10. And he said, I will certainly turn unto thee according to the time of life, and lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door, which was behind him. Verse 11, now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Verse 12, therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord being old also. Right? So she's saying, listen, she is old. How is she going to have a child? The angel is telling Abraham they're going to have a child. Sarah's saying, how am I going to do it? Am I going to have pleasure in my old age? Pleasure meaning laying with her husband. Right? Sarah, in her old age, and she knew how to make a child. Right? Never let someone tell you they got pregnant and God did it. Listen, this is not a DJ Khaled album. You'll be like, God did? No, that's not how this works. And the Lord said unto Abraham, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of a surety bear a child which am old? 14. Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed will I return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. So he's letting them know, I'm going to come back, I'm going to return, and Sarah's going to bear a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. And he said, nay, but thou didst laugh. He's checking her. Listen, you did laugh. I heard you. We know you did. Right? He's checking her, letting her know, like, listen, we heard that. We heard you. You don't have to lie about it. Where are we? Let's go to... I'm not looking for it. Okay, so we're going to jump down to... And now, if you notice, like, right, the Lord said Sarah's gonna have a child, but nowhere in Genesis 21, the 21 chapter, does it say Abraham had sex with Sarah. It doesn't say that. You're not gonna see it, right? So let's keep going. Let's go back to Luke. Going back to Luke 1:35. Right? So back to Luke 1:35. And the angel answered and said unto her, the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also that holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. Right? Now, we got to break that down. Because if you just listen to Christianity, you're going to be like, well, listen, God said he's going to get her pregnant. Right? So the Holy Ghost shall come upon thee. What that is saying is the Spirit of the Lord is going to come upon Sarah. Meaning, whatever that Spirit wants, whatever that Spirit wants Mary and Joseph to do is going to be done. Right? You cannot go against what the Lord wants you to do. Right? And then when it says cover, let's go back to it. Shall come upon thee, and the power of the highest shall overshadow thee. Therefore also the holy thing which shall be born of thee shall be called the Son of God. Right? So the covering is the protection. Like you want the Lord to cover you while you're going through your pregnancy. Like if you're going through surgery, you want the Lord to cover you. You want that protection. Let's read. We're going to put a pin in that real quick. Let me find Romans. Where's my Romans? We are definitely past the 9 o'clock hour, right? So I'm going to read these last two precepts. Let me get my Romans 9 and 19. And then I'm going to call a wrap to this class for now. We'll continue with the part 2 next week because there's a lot more information that we're going to go through. We'll be back Wednesday night, 7 p.m. sharp. Romans 9 and 19. Thou will say then unto me, why doeth he did find fault? For who has resisted his will? Right? So I'm going to read that one more time. Thou will say then unto me, why doeth he yet find fault? For who has resisted his will? Meaning you can't resist the will of God. If the Lord wants you to lay with your rib, you are laying with your rib and creating that baby. You're not going to be able to resist that will. Right? Let me show you again. Psalms 91, Psalms 36, verse 7. How excellent is thy loving kindness, O God. Therefore the children of men put their trust under the shadow of thy wings. Right? So when you're being overshadowed and covered, right, you're basically trusting in the Lord and gaining his protection. He's protecting you. He's sending some angels to protect you. Right? I'm going to show it to you again. Psalms 91, verse 1. This is a theme all throughout the Bible. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. Right? So it's letting you know, like when you abide with the Most High, you are going to be protected. You are going to be taken care of. Right? So I'm going to put a little note, start here for next week. So next week we're going to do part 2 of this breakdown. All right. So with that said, I'm going to read the announcements. Hold up. First, I'm going to drop these sign out links. dropping these sign-out links for you. All right. Read these these announcements real quick. This is for anybody who's trying to join the school or is already in the school. My announcements are. Bear with me one moment. Ready, go right away. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rules treating brothers and sisters. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shut themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3, verses 8 to 10. Ma'ashera, which means tenth in Hebrew, 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you, give to the treasury department or teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. Up and coming holy convocation is Memorial of Blowing Trumpets, which is the first day of the 7th month, Wednesday, October 2nd, 2024. You can find that Leviticus, the 23rd chapter, 24 to 25 are the verses. Reminder to Akim and Akwaf, check the bulletin board in your physical school or the social medias of your school. If anybody wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirts, pants, headband, and scarf. With that said, we're going to give a courtesy salute to the brothers. Men of Israel, I'm Adam Shabbat. I'm Ajam, Barak, Yahweh Shema, Yahweh Bashem Yashai Barakatha. Yad Yamata. Men of Israel, turn and face the sisters if you have any in your presence. Men of Israel, I'm Adam Shabbat. I'm Ajam, Barak, Yahweh Shema Alatham Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yad Yamata. Dismiss.